All right, so let's look at Transcorp Power 9 months 2025 numbers. They dropped late Monday last week. So, well, I had a bit of free time. So I thought let's get into the numbers. And it's only fair since I covered Gerigu numbers, which is a player in that space, also listed on the NGX. I might as well do the same thing for Transcorp Power. So do note this is not financial advice. Do your own research. Past performance is no guarantee of occurrence in the future. My views are subject to change at any point in time, and I may or may not hold a position in any stocks I discuss on the channel. Um, if you find this content interesting, do like, share, subscribe. Every time you do so, it helps with the algorithms on the channel. So let's start with 9 months first. 9 months meaning the 9 months of the company's financial year. For this firm, the 9 month runs from January to September. What do we have? We have 308.5 billion in revenue, up 38% from last year, and then you have 68.4 billion in profit after tax, up 17.1% from last year. So from a margin perspective, these numbers are looking good. This is looking like a 20% at or 22% profit margin. Profit margins are very key for me. High inflation environment in Nigeria. So I want to see you have a huge chunk of your revenue as profit. So a 20% or 22 odd percent profit margin means that for every 100 naira this firm makes, about 20 plus naira is profit. So that's pretty decent. Now for Q3 numbers seem soft. So it's clear that Q3 is soft to some compared to some of the preceding quarters. And when we say soft in finance, it means that performance is a bit weak. In this case, compared to prior quarters, you can see that Q3 revenue up 16.59%, 102.7 billion in revenue, while profit after tax went up by 16.15%, up amounting to exactly 23.8 billion. So on a top line basis, Q3 was soft compared to previous quarters. Earnings per share pretty much in line with 9 months. 3 naira 18 kobo in earnings per share for the third quarter. My dividend forecast for this firm. Last year, FY24, it paid a total of 5 naira, 1 naira 50 kobo interim dividend, and a 3 naira 50 kobo final dividend, making 5 naira. For FY 2025, I think the dividend, total dividend, would be in the 6 naira range. Interim dividend, I think, was 1 naira 50 kobo. And then you may have maybe a 4 naira 50 kobo, 4 naira final dividend. So I think it will be in the range somewhere between 5, 5.5, 6, and all. Um, this is not a dividend play because the dividend yield is really tiny, and that's because the stock price is way higher compared to dividend. Um, Dividend yield at current price is 1.75%. So that is pretty tiny, really. I like to see dividend yields 10% is pretty good. If you can do a dividend yield of 10%, that makes sense for me. So a dividend yield of 10% works fine. A 1.75 dividend yield, in fact, if my math is correct, it's probably less than what a bank account, savings account would do in Nigeria. So you probably will be better off saving your money in a bank account if you want a higher cash return compared to this stock, at least cash return from a dividend perspective. Um, Stock is a hold in my view. The target price for me is 307.5 compared to its current price. Has a potential downside of 10.09 percent. So it is possible that this stock, I mean, ideally, in fact, when I was scripting this video, my ideal target price is somewhere between 250 naira, 270 naira. So it's I mean sub 300 naira is easily doable with the stock if you especially intraday, if you keep an eye on the market. Now there's a key factor that one must consider when it comes to dividends and maybe to an extent valuation of this stock. If you see the screen, can I blow this up a bit further? Yes. So you can see I have 536 billion in assets, and the chunk of the assets about over this is looking like over 90% or over 80% of those assets are trade and receivables and other receivables. Receivables is money owed by a firm. Now, a huge chunk of this money is owed by the government, and there have been talks, there have been discussions. I think the government is working, the federal government is working seriously to raising a bond to pay off some of that debt. If slash when that happens, it's possible that some of that money could filter back to shareholders as a dividend, or even if not as a dividend, as cash, like literal cash. Because I mean, you can see retained earnings for this firm is 109.4 billion. So imagine if you had maybe an extra 50 billion, 100 billion coming, that could filter in to a potential higher dividend. The unknown is, when is this going to be paid? When is this cash going to be paid? We are in mid October. The year is almost done. So it's possible, I think, that another 3 to 6 months, the government will issue the bond, raise the cash, and then they get the cash verification. So I think it's possible that this money could come in between 3 to 6 months' time. Now, that would affect if slash when that money reflects in a dividend, if the company decides to do so. Um, the December is the end of this company's financial year. It's possible that by maybe February, late January, February, that's when FY 2025 numbers, audited numbers will be out. So if they get the cash within that time frame, I mean, but even if they get the cash after the audited numbers are out, nothing stops them from deciding to declare, a bumper interim dividend, or even a special dividend if they want to do so as well. So this is a key factor for this firm. What could they potentially do with 100 extra or 100 billion extra or so? My own way of working out the receivables, you say, look, maybe you're going to get 50% of your receivables or 60%. So that's 100 and something not billion. On the payable side of things, where is it? Let me see, current assets, trade and other payables. Yes. So on the payable side of things, they have about 260 odd billion as payables. A chunk of that goes to those who supplied the firm gas. So I think net an extra 50 to 100 billion could fit out to shareholders if they get a decent chunk of receivables paid. So the question is, what would they do with that money? And if you're a shareholder, I think that's something you can bring up at the company's annual general meeting or whenever they have their next earnings call. So I hope you found this useful. Thank you for joining, and see you in the next video.